Jacobson, you previously served in Tajikistan.
Yes, sir.
Of what period of time?
I was there from 2006 to 2009.
I'm sure you've seen the news that broke this week about 8 Tajiks who came to this country illegally over the southern border, were apprehended by the Biden administration.
Yes, sir.
Were quote-unquote vetted, and then were released. And they've been arrested this week because of their affiliations with ISIS-K and over concerns that they were plotting a major terror attack in the United States. In your experience, how dangerous is ISIS-K?
ISIS-K remains a threat both in the region to which I've been nominated and into the world, and also to our homeland. And I, if confirmed, would sort of welcome the opportunity to further discuss how we can combat this sort of terrorist threat. I'm a little bit out of the loop on Tajikistan in particular, having left there 15 years ago, but of course I still do follow it.
How concerned should Americans be that this administration released 80 illegal aliens who are Tajiks with connections to ISIS-K?
I am not privy to the intelligence or the law enforcement activity or really any of that. I have mostly read about this in the news. But I certainly think it's incumbent on all of us, all the agencies of the U.S. government, to protect our homeland. And
this is the same terrorist group that murdered 145 people in Moscow at the Opera House, came in with automatic weapons and mowed down civilians. Is that right?
It's my understanding that, yes, there were Tajiks involved in that operation in Moscow.
Well, I will say, I can tell you Texans are deeply concerned that the administration keeps releasing illegal immigrants with ties to terrorists, and we are living on borrowed time. I believe there is a higher likelihood today of a major terrorist attack in the United States than there has been any time since September 11th. And this administration's open border with 11 million illegal immigrants coming across it is an invitation for terrorists, for Hamas, for Hezbollah, for Palestinian Islamic Jihad, and for ISIS-K to come and murder Americans. And it is utterly indefensible. And yet today, the Biden administration is releasing yet more illegal immigrants into this country. They do it day after day after day. And we are going to see a lot more dead bodies as a result of it. All right, let's shift topics. A few weeks ago, Secretary Blinken appeared before this committee, and I questioned him about policy decisions made by the Biden administration, which have allowed $100 billion to flow to Iran, including access to a $10 billion pot of money involving Iraqi electricity in euros and dinars. This money enabled the Ayatollah to fund Hamas and Hezbollah. This money funded the October 7th terrorist attack, the single worst one-day massacre of Jews since the Holocaust. It is right now funding Hezbollah's push to trigger a regional Middle East war all the way through this morning. Ms. Gavito, you served for 2 years as Deputy Assistant Secretary for Iran, Iraq, and Public Diplomacy. Then you became the Acting Principal Deputy Assistant Secretary for Near Eastern Affairs. What was your role in issuing the waivers giving Iran access to that pot of money?
Thank you very much, Senator. With regard to the $6 billion in question, the
$10 billion, not the $6 billion, not the $6 billion in ransom. That's another problematic decision.
Apologies. With regard to the electricity waivers, I, as Deputy Assistant Secretary, did not have a direct role in that particular decision. That being said, certainly was part of those discussions. As Ambassador Jacobson has noted, the intent behind those waivers was to incentivize the Iraqi government.
I'm not asking about the intent. Did you support those waivers?
I was not in a decision-making capacity.
Did you agree with the decision?
I would have to review, Senator. Yes, I believe that incentivizing Iraq to divest itself of Iranian oil is positive.
Okay, Ambassador Jacobson, these waivers will have to be renewed this summer or they expire. If confirmed, would you support reissuing those waivers?
So I'd note that those waivers have spanned at least 2 administrations and been renewed 21 times since 2018, if I'm not mistaken. I take heart from the commitment of the government of Iraq to achieve energy independence by 2030.
That's not an answer to the question. Would you support reissuing those waivers?
Well, I don't think it would be up to me, and I would be more than interested in serving as part of the conversation.
There is a consistent pattern in this administration of giving money to theocratic lunatics who want to murder us. $100 billion to the Ayatollah Khamenei is the single most catastrophic foreign policy decision of this administration. And today, this administration continues to refuse to enforce the oil sanctions, enriching the Ayatollah, funding Hamas, funding Hezbollah, funding those who are murdering Israelis and trying to murder Americans. How does it make sense to give billions and billions of dollars to theocratic lunatics who want to kill us?
Thank you for that question, Senator. I personally am very clear-eyed about the Iranian threat. I think I shared with you, and I'll share with others, that I have been myself on the receiving end of Iranian death threat information, including during my time in Ashgabat when President Niyazov used to remind me that the Iranians had a missile pointed at my bedroom. With regards to the funds that are kept in restricted accounts that are overseen by the Treasury Department, that are the subject of an extensive system of safeguards, these funds will never reach the government of Iran. These funds have to stay overseas, and they have to be used for humanitarian purposes. You could ask, doesn't that mean that it frees up money for their massive terrorism campaigns, which of course are heinous? And I would argue that Iran, unfortunately, is always going to focus on destabilizing activity over supporting the humanitarian needs of its own people. With regards to the sanctions, the administration hasn't lifted any sanctions, and as far as I know, it's implemented another 700 sanctions.
But it refuses to enforce it. My time's expired, but the results are indisputable. And Iran has gone from selling 300,000 barrels a day of oil to selling 2 million barrels of oil a day. That is funding this war of terror against us.